What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I wanted to break down what's going on with Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down what's happening with their earnings coming out for Microsoft and Alphabet, what you should be watching for as we approach tomorrow, because it's going to be another important day due to the FOMC meeting, when we're going to have Jerome Powell speaking and other things like that. But before I break anything up all this information, before I talk about why tomorrow is going to be another very important day, let me just mention a couple of things. Firstly, I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo, the link down below, and deposit $100 into the account, you are guaranteed up to 5 free stocks. If you deposit $1,000, you're guaranteed up to 15 free stocks, and the offer ends very soon. Anyways, now let's break down what's going on with the market. So, looking at SPY thus far, SPY on the 4-hour time frame has seen some downside because of what happened with Google and Microsoft. They both took some hits, but right now Microsoft is trying to rebound, whereas Google is still looking kind of weak. And SPY is going to likely have a weak open tomorrow, but we'll have to see if the buyers could come back and try to defend where it's currently at. We're currently trying to hold the 4-hour 20 EMA on SPY, and I'll be breaking down more details about this in just the next couple of minutes. But let me first talk about the earnings and stuff that have been coming out. So Microsoft, AMD, and Alphabet just had their earnings reports. I'm going to just primarily focus on Microsoft and Alphabet. They're the two most important ones. I'll be talking more about the others a little bit later on. For tomorrow, we just have Boeing in the morning, just a couple of others. Then we just have very minor earnings after that. Tomorrow is going to be a quiet day for earnings because things become a lot more serious on Wednesday. Tomorrow is going to be Wednesday, January 31st, the last trading day of the month. And on top of that, don't forget that we have the FOMC meeting. So at 2 p.m., we have the Fed interest rate hike decision coming out. And at 2:30 p.m., we have the press conference with Jerome Powell. Powell is going to be giving his speech. This is going to cause some high volatility for the markets. So we'll just have to wait and see what he causes. Once again, it's all coming out for tomorrow. Now, on top of this, the market is still quite greedy, very close to the extreme greed. But as we reached extreme greed, things are cooling off a bit as we're seeing the market getting dragged down by tech to some extent. We're seeing Microsoft trying to rebound, but as of right now, SPY is down just a little bit, and we're still very close to extreme greed, so things haven't really changed that much. Now, how are things looking for earnings? Alphabet Q4 earnings, they beat on EPS, they beat on revenue. Cloud revenue was actually quite good, but their YouTube ad revenue just barely met expectations, not the strongest for its standards. It basically saw the share price drop on disappointing Google ad revenue, according to the big reports right there. And guidance was not that bad. They're going to be spending more money on severance, things like that. Not that bad. It was kind of like mixed here and there. YouTube is also helping it drive its accelerated growth, but the ad revenue is not as strong as what many investors were looking for. And they tend to have some very, very picky standards when it comes to big tech earnings like these. So that's very, very important. The shares are up quite a bit. Their overall technology developments are looking quite good, alongside their net income jumping 52% in the fourth quarter. But the ad revenue, that's still getting in the way. So that's going to be something that's very, very stingy, getting in the way for Google. And we'll just have to see how it goes from there. Microsoft, on the other hand, it actually had a beat over beat. They beat on a lot of different things. You can actually see what they beat at right over here, with Intelligence Cloud increasing quite a bit, server products up 22%, Azure is up 30%, and things are just continuing to look strong for them. Looking at specific things, their EPS was a beat. Revenue was up 18% year over year, another beat by about 0.9 billion. Gross margins are up. Operating margins are up quite a bit. So far, so good in terms of earnings and such. They also saw 49% year-on-year gaming revenue growth in Q2, and things were looking pretty good for them. So as a result, excuse me, guys, I apologize. As a result of all of this, currently Google is down 5.5%, so it's down pretty big. Might remain down as it's testing the 4-hour 200 EMA. But on the other hand, if you look at Microsoft right here, it's kind of flat. So the earnings were not too bad. We're still waiting for like the call to basically continue. It's very late right now, so I don't want to like wait for the entire call to finish. As of right now, I think Microsoft is going to try to hold up a bit. It's not going to drop extremely hard or pump extremely hard. Not the best of things that investors wanted, but I think that that's what Microsoft is going to do. And without further ado, I'll be talking more about SPY and how these things are going to be impacted in just a minute. One last thing about Tesla is Tesla had some bad news that came out. The judges have come out and they voided Elon Musk's $56 billion Tesla compensation, and shares are essentially dropping because of this. Now, the Delaware judge on Tuesday voided the $56 billion pay package of Tesla's CEO Elon Musk, ruling that the company's board of directors failed to prove that the compensation plan was fair. The shares have dropped because of this. This basically was a package that granted Musk in 2018 the largest compensation plan in public corporate history. And they noted that the making of Tesla and SpaceX, they basically helped Elon Musk become one of the richest people on the planet. The plan offered Musk the chance, in addition to all of that, to secure 12 tranches of Tesla stock options, which would help the market cap increase by $50 billion, achieving the revenue target. So that's a very, very big pay compensation. Had Musk gotten that, he could have used a lot of that money to essentially acquire a lot more Tesla shares, especially if he exercised his options. But instead, with this being voided, this is going to make it more difficult for Musk to gain more and more shares, a much bigger position to get his voting control at 25%. So because of that, that's causing Tesla to drop essentially. Tesla dropped really hard in the after hours. So we're going to be watching some key levels. I just want to call that out for Tesla. Now let's talk about the market. How are things looking? When you zoom out of SPY, we have this yellow trend line acting as support. As of right now, we're trying to hold this up. And this is aligning with a very, very important fib level. Now, if we lose the yellow trend line, we're going to be sinking towards, in my opinion, 487.5 then 486. If we hold it as we're trying to hold it right now, we could be trying to make our way back up to 490 tomorrow. So, in my opinion, there's a very good chance that as long as we hold this, we might attempt to rebound tomorrow. But it doesn't matter as much solely based off technicals, because what's going to affect the market more is going to be the FOMC meeting. So could the market rebound a little bit? Yes, it can. And usually just shops around approaching the FOMC meeting. So look for a little rebound, then some sideways price action. And then after that, we'll see what the FOMC meeting causes. That's going to be very key. Until then, just watch these levels. We have 490 coming up as resistance, and above that, we have this imbalance at 491. So SPY might trade sideways, rebound a little bit, and then continue to trade sideways and watch for a big move after the FOMC minutes. Not the minutes, sorry, the FOMC report is released. That's going to be very important. For Tesla, Tesla's continuing to slide amidst the new news involving Elon Musk. With Tesla sliding, we're going to be watching to see if it can hold 182 as support alongside 180. We have resistance right now at 184 to 185. If we get above 185, there's 187 coming next, followed by 190. In my opinion, Tesla's looking relatively weak, and we're going to have to watch how the FOMC meeting affects it. We might see an attempt to rebound, but we have to see if this is done falling. It could still fall a little bit more before it attempts to rebound. And we're going to be watching to see lots of sideways price action as time goes on as we approach the FOMC meeting. And FOMC is going to cause a bigger move, so watch that very, very carefully. That's it for Tesla and SPY. I think that FOMC is going to contribute to where Tesla goes. Might see it rebounded and trade sideways, and FOMC is going to cause something else. For the triple Q, this might be a little bit weaker than SPY because of the fact that it's more impacted by tech. Right now, if we continue selling off, watch 421. If we lose that, 420 is coming. Then there's going to be a risk of 418 and 416. If we continue to hold above 420 to 421, we could make an attempt to rebound back up to 422.5 and eventually 423.8. I think there's a good chance it's going to try to rebound a bit, then trade sideways. Then FOMC is going to cause a much bigger move. So we'll be watching to see what Jerome Powell ends up saying. On top of this, we have Nvda. Nvidia stock, in my opinion, is looking kind of flat. We basically came down to our support all the way down around the 607, 608 area. Then we tried to rebound a little bit. Now we're just trading sideways, very flat in the 615 range. We came up to 616 and we're just continuing to trade sideways. If we're bullish on Nvidia, you want to see this thing basically break to the upside towards 622 tomorrow. If we're bearish, you're going to see it come all the way back down to about 607. If you lose that, 602 is coming in 600. In my opinion, Nvidia is kind of flat, so we'll see what Nvidia does right now. It did drop quite a bit. It's actually down quite a bit, but now it's trading kind of flat like for the past hours, so we'll just see what it does. And then don't forget about the FOMC meeting. My guts tells me this might attempt to rebound a little bit. We might try to get back to 620 or so and trade sideways. And then we're going to be watching to see what happens with the FOMC meeting. This could launch it or dump it. We'll just wait and see until then. On Aapl, in my opinion, is looking a little bit weaker. Aapl is basically approaching key support right here at 187 and then 186.5. We have resistance at 188. If we break that, there's 189, which is very, very minor, 189 point flat. And then above that, we have 190.5 coming. Apple's been dropping very hard to the point where it's becoming a little bit oversold. I could see it actually retest 186.5 and then bounce. So it could drop a little bit more than bounce, trade sideways, and then we're going to be looking for a big reaction after CPI. CPI, not CPI. Jesus, I'm talking about the FOMC meeting. So for the FOMC meeting, we're basically going to be listening to what Jerome Powell and the others have to say, and we're going to be looking for a very, very big move. The FOMC meeting could cause this thing to basically collapse and start falling towards 184, or we could see a very, very big bounce back up to 190 plus. So we'll be watching that as well very carefully. Now let's just talk about how the others are doing. Well, amidst all the pieces of data that came out, Rivian's looking a little bit weak from a technical standpoint. It looks like it might retrace back down to 15 flat, the very low 15s. But don't forget that even if it does come down a little bit more and attempts to bounce, watch and see what happens with the very, very important earnings. That's going to be key. Now, with SoFi coming back down like this, we're going to be looking for it to approach support at the 50 EMA at $8. As long as we hold 8 to 8.14, I think it might rebound. So watch support right over there to see if it can hold up. That's going to be key, and we'll be watching to see how tech affects this. Then we also have the FOMC meeting tomorrow, which is going to cause more volatility. For the IWM, Russell 2000 is still holding up in the after hours and might try to trade sideways at 197 and then bounce and start pushing back up towards 200 basically. I could see it making its way back up, then trading sideways after that. But then don't forget a big move is coming after FOMC. We'll just wait and see what that causes. Microsoft is down just a little bit, still kind of flat. It's fighting to try to hold above the 20 EMA at 406.5. We might just continue to trade sideways, could actually drop a little bit. But I don't expect it to just make a massive, massive move for now. I think we'll just have to wait and see. So we'll see what happens with the big earnings that came out. I'll have to watch and see how things look. Otherwise, it's kind of flat right now. For AMD, this is down quite a bit after earnings have come out. If we lose 160, watch for a bigger dump. We have a head and shoulders like structure as well. If we lose 160, I think that we could be approaching 149.5 later. It looks a little bit weak for now. The VIX, this thing is approaching resistance right here at the 50 daily moving average. So we'll have to see if we can try to break above that. Otherwise, we still look kind of indecisive. Coinbase is looking a little bit weak. We actually got a rejection off the 200 EMA. We failed to break that, and now we're going to be approaching, in my opinion, 125 if we lose 129. There's going to be a risk of some downside, so be careful on Coinbase, and we'll see how it goes from there. For Google, we're basically going to be watching this thing approach 143. If we bounce off 143, we're going to be pushing back upwards. Otherwise, we're still holding the 200 EMA. We'll see how this thing holds. Can we bounce off 143 or not? That's going to be key right now. It's barely holding support, not looking the strongest, so be a little bit careful with Google. If we lose 143 tomorrow, we could be sinking towards 135. Otherwise, it looks kind of weak. Thanks to Google and tech, we're actually seeing Amazon dropping as well. We'll see how Amazon does as we're around 155 right now. If we keep selling off, 154.5 could be tested. This is getting impacted by tech. For Meta, we're actually down quite a bit on Meta. Watching support right now at 387. If we lose that, a bigger dump is coming. We're barely holding 387 as support, so watch to see if we hold it. If we fail to hold it, 385 is coming, followed by the low 380s. Be very, very careful on Meta. With that being said, that's it for the main tickers out there. We're still waiting to see what happens with Microsoft. It's still very flat right now, but Google's dragging the market down a bit. So you might see the market open up very weak, attempts to rebound as time goes on, then just trade sideways for many hours until we approach the FOMC meeting. And at the FOMC meeting, we're going to be listening to what on earth is announced by the Fed and what Jerome Powell says at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So tomorrow is going to be a big day with FOMC coming out. Get ready for Jerome Powell's speech and get ready for some big volatility in the markets. With that being said, have a great day, guys. Remain calm, cool, and collected, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you, and peace out.